Welcome to another edition of Points of Interest, brought to you by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Paul Boucher. I'm the President and CEO of the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. And as we do each week, we bring you the events that are going on in the Upper Valley for the coming week. And we have a special guest with us who is talking on particular topics of interest to our viewers out there. And this week, being no different, we have Matt Brown as our guest. Matt is the former chair of the planning board here in Lebanon, and we'll be talking about some economic growth and issues that are facing Lebanon in the upcoming months and years. But first, points of interest in Lebanon itself. We have a golf tournament that's coming up on May 15th. This is sponsored by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce. It's the Wexler Memorial Golf Tournament, and all of the proceeds from that tournament go to our scholarship account for adult learners in the Upper Valley. These are people who want to get better trained and make a better employee for our members who are the employers. And we supply scholarships through 6 local junior colleges, if you will. We have Lebanon College, Franklin Pierce, Granite State College, Community College of Vermont, the Valley Community College in River Valley Community College in Claremont, New England School of Hair Design, and the Upper Valley Teachers Institute. And once a year in the fall semester, we do scholarships at all of those schools. If anyone is interested, they can pick up applications for the scholarships at those schools through the financial aid office. They will be delivered sometimes in mid-August for the fall semester. And to date, we have awarded over $70,000 in scholarships in the Upper Valley. So, as I say, all the proceeds from the golf tournament go to that program. The event is May 15th at Lake Morey Resort, beginning at 12:30. Anyone who would interested in putting a foursome in, or sponsorships. We're always looking for sponsors, either whole sponsors, green sponsors, or carts, or the barbecue that we do have at the end of the tournament. We're most welcome to do so. All you need to do is go to our website, which is www.lebanonchamber.com. The application is there, and you can simply send it to us via email, fax, or just mail it to us. So it's May 15th at the Lake Morey Resort.
That is still one of the least expensive golf tournaments available in the Upper Valley, so it's quite a bargain for the $90 a person, is it? Yeah.
95 this year, but you're right. Most tournaments are over $100, and that is not. And that'll get you your green fees, your carts, and a nice buffet dinner afterwards, and awards for low net, low gross, closest to the pins, longest drive, and it's just a lot of fun. And so join in with your fellow Upper Valley business people, or it's open to anyone, to play in this golf tournament. Another event that's coming up, although it sounds far away, but things have to be applied for now, is the Leadership Upper Valley. This was started by the Lebanon Area Chamber of Commerce, I want to say about 7 years ago, and it's a leadership institute. It's a 10-month program, and it's empowering current and emerging leaders by focusing on regional assets, challenges, and opportunities. And it is a 10-month program, 1 full day a month for the 10 months, begins in September, but they are looking for applicants now because there are always more applicants than they have room for. It's a limited attendance at this institute, and so there's a interview process and that type of thing. Some of the topics covered are health and human services, education, the arts, communication, transportation, and it begins September 12th, as I mentioned. You may go to Vital Communities, which is now running the program, and to their website, which is www.vitalcommunities.org, and get an application for that there. We have other educational programs going up in the Upper Valley, particularly Lebanon College is doing computer courses that they're beginning on May 21st. although it sounds a little bit ahead, but again, limited number of attendees. So on May 21st, they're beginning with Google Docs workshop, followed by social media and search engine optimization for businesses, Gmail workshop, and Google Site workshops. And these will begin in May and run through June. Very inexpensive. They're only $50, and very informative programs that the college is doing over there. We have some entertainment opportunities also. We have on May 5th, we have Cinderella is being at Lebanon Opera House. City Center Ballet is putting that on, and that is again May 5th and 6th, two productions. Saturday, May 5th is 1:30 and 7 p.m. Sunday is 2:30 p.m. And I would suggest you call the Lebanon Opera House for reservations at 448-0400 for that. Also at the Lebanon Opera House, the Lebanon High School is presenting Wet Paint Players, and that is put on by the kids from the high school. They do a great job, having attended some of these in the past, and they're doing performances on April 27th, 28th, and 29th, which is this coming weekend coming up. And also you may call the Lebanon Opera House for tickets for that particular venue also. And we have Horns of Plenty. That's being put on by the Upper Valley Community Band. This is all the proceeds from that are going to for them to buy music and keep their instruments up and things. And if you remember, the Upper Valley Community Band performs up and down the Upper Valley all summer long. They're here in Coburn Park at least twice, sometimes three times, on our regular Monday night concerts. So that's one of the activities going on there. We have running all week too at Northern Stage Production of Chicago, and that's at the Briggs Opera House. And you may call 802-296-7000 for tickets for that, and that's running all week this week into the weekend. Also, the Upper Valley Lake Sunapee Regional Planning Commission is having a broadband planning meeting, and that is on Wednesday from 4 to 5:30 p.m. at their office, and this is free. And their office is located in the Whitman Communications building at 10 Water Street here in Lebanon, and that would be very informative for those who are interested in broadband. We have Science Cafe conversation, and that is at Salt Hill Pub, and that is this Thursday, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And the subject is Genes Are Us, Aren't They? And that is the topic of this week's discussion. On Thursday also, benefit dance and raffle from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Upper Valley Senior Center here on Campbell Street. Phil and Carl from the Pulse play vintage country and rock and roll music, raffle and refreshments. It's only $5 at the door. All the benefits are going to the Upper Valley Senior Center. On Thursday also, Thursday night movie in West Lebanon. Movie night, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Kilton Public Library. Free popcorn, the show is free, and they're featuring a Billy Wilder movie on the big screen. So that should involve everyone who's interested. And all week long, and they are doing this on a regular basis, but you want to take a little ride out to Enfield. The Enfield Shaker Museum is open 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Every day, and offers daily guided and self-guided tours of the great stone dwellings out there. I know a lot of people from the area who've never been into some of those buildings, so this is the opportunity. And as I say, they're open noon to 4 p.m. All week long during the week. So those are some of the activities that are going on in the Upper Valley, and I'd like to welcome to the program Matt Brown. As I mentioned, is the former chair of the planning board here in Lebanon. And we've had a lot of discussion, and a little more lately, but been going on for a few years, on the land use chapter of the master plan for the city of Lebanon. And they finally approved it last week. Mm-hmm. And then there is a joint meeting this day that we're taping between the Hanover and Lebanon planning boards at City Hall at 7 o'clock. So there'll probably be more discussion on that. So what do you see the impact, Matt, as some of the...
Boy, there's several different topics we could run with, Paul, but what got you and I started a couple of weeks ago was a Lebanon City Council meeting. I think it was the 12th of April, where we had a couple of city councilors mention that Lebanon has enough jobs and that we don't need any more jobs and we should send those jobs to Claremont. And with my history on the Chamber of Commerce and talking with you, I really felt that that was a serious issue for the Chamber to address. I don't know how you can have too many jobs in an area, especially given the state of the economy in this day and age, so it's always discouraging to have our elected officials take a stance like that. And I know that dovetails or leads us into discussions about economic growth and development in general. And then that's been an ongoing issue. We have our master plan, which has been 4 years in the works, has now been approved by both the City Council and the Lebanon Planning Board. What I've always found an interesting conundrum is the master plan is a guideline, if you will, okay, for the City of Lebanon, and describes how the citizens of Lebanon and the Planning Board envisions what Lebanon will look like over the coming years. And a crucial piece, and one that takes up the bulk of the time in rewriting the master plan each time, is the future land use map. And if I understand it completely, listening to the planning director, that's supposed to give us an indication of what we would like Lebanon to look like in a few years. However, that's not an enforceable document, and it's not an ordinance or a regulation. What will ultimately drive this is the zoning map. And for years I have always struggled with, I don't understand why the future land use map and the zoning map are not the same document. I mean, it makes no sense to me, okay, if that is in fact what we want Lebanon to look like, why don't we support it with our zoning? When we started on the master plan several years ago, we had a lot of input from the public, and their primary concern, and those that showed up most frequently and had the most to say, were those who were concerned about the downzoning of their own property. And by downzoning, what we're talking about is further restricting the use of their land and what can happen on their land. And it was stated at the time over and over and over again that the city was not looking to downzone anybody's property. They certainly were reluctant to upzone anyone's, and that's understandable in this day and age, but downzoning was not something that they wanted to do. But what I'm concerned about, in talking with Andrew Gaspare, the new planning director, and some of his comments have been, don't be concerned about the future land use map, because if you have concerns, you being the public landowner, you'll get a chance to address that when the zoning map is brought before you, and that will all happen over the next 6 to 18 months. And at that time, okay, you can certainly discuss the relative merits of anything. What my concern will be is when that process takes place, is how the planning board or anyone else is going to be able to say in good conscience that geez, we really think, okay, that your land should stay in the same zoning classification that it was, when the future land use map, in essence, okay, is indicating that they like to see it in a more restrictive mode. That does not make any sense to me, and near as I can figure, that is, all right, an unfair taking of somebody's land, and it's certainly a downzoning. And I don't believe that was the intention of the planning board. I would hate to think that it's the intention of the master plan. I can't say that I feel it's not the intention of the Lebanon City Council, because I guess what I've been struggling with for the past several years is what I perceive as a very strong anti-growth, anti-development movement within the city. And the comments made by the councilors a couple of weeks ago that Lebanon doesn't need any more jobs, we can send them to Claremont, I think is indicative of that. When questioned, the councilors will tell you, well, we're not really opposed to growth or development. Okay, it just has to be able to exist under a certain few conditions. And the primary condition they want it to exist under is for it not to have any impact. Well, it is impossible to have development that doesn't have an impact in some way, shape, or form. And no, and that used to represent itself in, I brought some visual aids for you, Paul. I know sometimes you need them. Many years ago, for years and years, okay, it was NIMBY, okay? Yeah, you can have development, okay, as long as it's not in my backyard. And that has resurfaced over and over and over again, and is likely to, because it is often what happens is people aren't really concerned about growth and development until it happens literally in their backyard. But what I've seen over the past couple of years is what NIMBY has actually evolved into a far worse situation, and that is banana. I'm afraid that Lebanon is turning into it's Banana Republic, its own little Banana Republic with its own queen and her court. And for those of you unfamiliar with it, banana represents build absolutely nothing anywhere near anything. And it's my concern that I think there are too many people on the council and in the city of Lebanon who would just assume that we finished digging the moat around the city, filled it with alligators, okay, and stopped anything else from happening. And the problem I've had with that perspective for a long time is that the councilors and their associated committees maintain that economic development and growth has done nothing for us in terms of reducing our taxes, and that was supposed to be their primary benefit, okay, was to add to our tax base and consequently, okay, reduce our real estate taxes. Everybody who lives in Lebanon, would certainly be willing to tell you that they feel that they are too high. My concern is that if you have no economic growth or business development or residential development, it is going to be impossible for your taxes to go down. So to take the stance that it's economic growth and development that is making our taxes skyrocket is untrue. I'll use a kind of term, okay, as I can say there, because there's no correlation between that at all. And if we never had another supermarket, if we never had another store or another housing development, does anyone truly think that their taxes are going to go down? All of the city employees, and justifiably so, are going to be looking for a raise each year. The infrastructure, which is another one of my pet peeves, which has not had a nickel spent on it in the last 50 years, is not going to miraculously recover, okay, and improve itself on its own. Money is going to have to be spent to maintain and improve that infrastructure, and to think that you can do that without raising people's taxes, I think is foolish and deceiving.
And there's evidence of that with the infrastructure going on right now, with the expansion of some of the businesses on Route 120, namely 2 conference centers.
Yep.
That there's issue with the sewer line going out there that might not be able to satisfy the needs of those 2 locations. The pipe is old. Apparently, it's in a swampy area and processing more swamp water than it is what it was intended to do.
Well, and that's just indicative of the condition, okay, of our infrastructure. And I'm here to tell you, okay, it's not just in the Heater Road 120 area. Those pipes were all laid, okay, at essentially the same time. So all throughout Lebanon, those pipes are in the same condition. And you have an infiltration factor that is mind-boggling. It's hundreds of thousands of gallons a day come in and out of, not the ends of the pipes, okay, but the pipes themselves, because they're in such horrible condition. And with the conference center there on Etna Road and Heater Road, they were forced to do a visual TV inspection of the pipes to detect their condition. You can't tell me that the DPW didn't know what kind of condition those pipes were in beforehand, and then to act surprised, okay, when they found that, oh my God, these things are not going to be able to handle what this guy wants to do with this project. So the developer offered to, on his nickel, develop his own, I'm going to call it a septic system, okay, a septic tank, so that he could accumulate all the septics that he was generating during the course of the day and spoon feed it to the city facilities in the off hours between midnight and 6 a.m., okay, when there would be far less burden on the system than there was. The planning board thought that was a reasonable alternative, but yet when the developer went to get his building permit, the city of Lebanon denied him the permit, wouldn't give him the permit for it. Since that time, as I understand it, the developer has offered on his nickel to replace all of the pipes in the immediate area of where his development is, but the city doesn't feel that that's adequate or sufficient. And I guess that dovetails into part of my other concerns, is that the city just doesn't seem willing or interested in doing anything in terms of improving its infrastructure, because they feel that it's going to be too much of a burden on the taxpayer. Well, I have a problem with that, in that the city had no problem spending millions of dollars, okay, on a library, okay, in the electronic age, okay, where books are quickly becoming a thing of the past, and building a fairly elaborate DPW center out here on Dartmouth College Highway. And it's okay to spend millions of dollars on that, but to spend millions of dollars on our own infrastructure to repair and replace pipes that have been steadily degrading for 50 years is not a reasonable expense. I got a problem with that one.
Some of the programs that are going on now with the separation of the storm and storage in the downtown area particularly, is that going to help a little bit alleviate some of the problem?
Of course it will. And it's also interesting in that the city had to be dragged kicking and screaming into doing that CSO project, and the only reason that they did it was because the feds were going to sue them if they didn't. So in terms of their unwillingness or inability to do any preventative maintenance, okay, or improvement to our infrastructure, the only part that you're seeing, which is the CSO project, is only being done, okay, because their hand was forced
to do that particular program. So what you're telling us is that the zoning map and the planning map don't mirror each other, first of all.
No.
And secondly, those who prepared the planning map are also going to prepare the zoning map?
Yes.
Also. And one is not going to lead the other.
I don't see where the individual landowners are going to have an opportunity to plead their case.
Okay.
When the zoning map comes up, because I would expect the planning board and everyone else is going to say, well, geez, this is what we came up with for our future land use map. Are you suggesting that we somehow contradict what we've already approved, and the city council has approved, and everyone else has approved, and change it because you don't like the way that the zoning map is going to impact you? And so I think it's going to leave a lot of landowners, okay, in a very difficult and unfortunate situation, where the use of their land is going to be significantly reduced. And when you reduce the usability of the land, you reduce the value of it as well. So it's going to have a huge impact to people in terms of the value of their assets and what they own.
If you look at some of the surrounding towns in this area who are really suffering, if you will, due to the fact that they don't have the growth, as you mentioned, which is needed to subsidize the tax rate, who are really taking the brunt. First of all, the taxes are going up, even though their property valuations are dropping drastically. Usually that's not the same formula. Usually if you're a strong economy, the valuation of your house is going up, and your taxes naturally will go based on the market value of your house. But that is what is hurting some of the area towns.
Well, and in terms of economic growth, having grown up here, and now having two daughters in their early 20s who are soon going to be out of college and looking for a place to work, I would love for them to be able to come back to the Upper Valley, and Lebanon in particular. And just over the past few years, have there been some types of companies that are new and exciting enough for them, okay, to want to go to work for, okay? The TomToms, the Hypotherms, okay, Fujifilm, those are the types of industries I would think the Upper Valley, and in particular Lebanon, would want to have here. And I think you'd want other types of companies just like that, so that our kids want to come back to Lebanon. But man, I swear there are times when I get the impression from certain city councilors that they just assume that nobody else ever had the opportunity to enjoy Lebanon, okay, like they've had that opportunity to. And that just doesn't seem fair to me.
And we have plenty of areas of growth. We have the Lebanon Airport, which phase one, which really sold out very quickly.
Yep.
And on that plan, we were supposed to have phase two and then phase three, which eventually phase two is to go around the end of the airport, the airstrip, develop that area, and then eventually phase three, which is going to go around the other side of the airport and up onto Poverty Lane. And we have a lot of potential for growth there.
There's some potential for growth there, okay, considering whose land is going to impact the most over there. I've got my doubts, okay, in terms of how easily that will proceed.
And then, we have Centera Park.
Which has to be, a prototype, which has to be the envy of the rest of New England. I mean, in terms of an industrial business park, how could you want anything more attractive?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a beautiful job that the original developer, okay, Bason, Bain Stevenson, and now the college has done with that over the years, and it's gorgeous. And look at the businesses that are in there, okay? All first-rate businesses paying a great wage. Why wouldn't you want to duplicate or replicate something like that?
I sit on the board for Grafton County Economic Development, and we built, in conjunction with Dartmouth College, the incubator, as we call it, and the Upper Valley Technical Center. And what it is, somebody has an idea, want to start a business or make a product or do some research, they are able to come to that building with a very reduced rate, rent and help and computers and all that. They have 3 years to develop their product and then move on. And the goal is that they move on not that far from where they are now. So we had Mascoma Corp, which is the prime, built that beautiful building on the corner of 120 and Etna Road, double their employment, and moved their corporate headquarters out of Cambridge to here. The other one is Adamab, who purchased the Dartmouth College building that was up there, and they're going to do the same thing. And even though with these companies moving out of there, the demand is even greater for the space we have, and the building is within the next 2 months will have double its size. The construction will be complete, double its size, and provide for these companies wet labs, dry labs, and they can do experiments. And again, high tech, stay in the area, employ the area, and maybe our kids will come back to work in those particular jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great, and it wasn't an easy climb for each of those two people, okay, particularly, Mascoma Corp and the new building they're in. And, a very close example or similar situation was over on Route 10 in West Lebanon, the old Bailey Brothers parcel, where, Mr. Clem and his group wanted to build, I'm going to call it a high-tech medical office park, similar, okay, to Centerra, okay, but also a little bit different in that its primary emphasis was going to be on labs, okay, and medical research. And Mr. Clem has an extraordinary history of doing this type of development in Cambridge, okay, and just excellent projects all the way through. Well, the city of Lebanon dragged him, okay, through an inordinate amount of aggravation and grief over nearly 3 years, okay, before he was finally allowed to proceed. Was what looks like it has all the potential in the world to be a great project. It really does.
Excellent. Well, Matt, we thank you very much for enlightening us on these particular issues that you brought to us today. And I think the bottom line is the involvement on the community. People, well, it showed in the last election that we had that there was no contested seats on city council. And that's where a lot of decisions are made. That's where a lot of the appointments are made to the planning board, zoning board, and there was no contested seats. So it's a citizen involvement that will get these programs going as we go forward. So we thank you one more time for joining in, and we'll be back next week with another guest. Until then.